Hey, Ramadan Kareem to all my Muslim brothers and sisters. It's this blessed month again, or maybe for you as a religious OCD sufferer, might be, or moral scrupulosity. Yeah, might be a bit of a stressful month, but we'll just get to that. I'm actually not fasting today, which would be a good exposure for someone with religious OCD because I messed up the timings for suhoor. And I woke up and I thought, oh, it's still suhoor time. And actually, it had already passed and I wasn't able to eat. So, I was like, okay, I have to skip today. So, I made a mistake on that, but it's okay. It happens. I think I just wanted to make this video just to again. I think just as coming from Muslim background myself as well, I think it's just good to have these videos as well to kind of like shed light a bit more and obviously like see how religion and OCD overlap in that way for the Muslim community, and how it can also just like religion itself can become something stressful, and it's something that you desperately do not want to be stressful, and you want it to be peaceful, and you want it to be able to pray like with that kind of serenity as well. But of course, like it doesn't happen that way because it's the very thing that people are holding quite dear to their hearts, and they don't want OCD or any kind of intrusive thoughts to kind of like, interfere with that. But that's exactly why there's going to be a certain level of there's going to be a certain controversial there that's going to come into play when this happens. I think I've talked about my religious OCD journey quite a few times, and it's been quite a challenging kind of thing because I mean when I was going through religious OCD, I was essentially, I didn't even know I had OCD, and I thought this was just like something happening with me personally, and something wrong happening with me, right? Or maybe I was just like this horrible person with these like big bad thoughts and I need to somehow get them away. But it was at the time quite challenging, and I think that one of my first, in fact, I would say intrusive thoughts that I had that I clearly remember was related to religious OCD. I was going to the mosque to pray, and while at the mosque during my prayer, I was getting a lot of sexual intrusive thoughts. And I think I was just like, what, maybe 7 years old, something. I was really young. So I mean, I didn't even know exactly what how sexual relationships, to be honest, even happened. But like whatever idea at the time that I had that, oh, this is stuff that also kind of like happens between people, I was having those thoughts, and for me, obviously at that age, especially, it felt like the most controversial thing that could happen. That during like an important religious time or a moment, I'm having these thoughts. And when it comes to something like Ramadan, this entire month becomes super stressful because this entire month is about doing extra prayers, that you want to do, doing things, indulging in basically the practice of religion itself, a little more than you usually do. Of course, like everyone does it like at different levels. Some people want to do it more, some people want to do it less, and for many years, I would say there were a lot of different reasons to it. But one of the reasons that I started, in fact, dreading Ramadan was because of like I thought I just like internally, emotionally, and spiritually, I felt like I just wasn't aligning with it. And then I would also get annoyed because I was like, why am I being like, why is this like months coming in and trying to like, force me to be like a bit more religion inclined and stuff like that. And just that notion would kind of like stress me out as well. And so I just wanted to kind of like run away from it, but then also like running away from it made me kind of feel bad as well, because when I was younger, before I was suffering really badly with OCD in general, I did enjoy practicing religion. I quite enjoyed it, in fact. And I enjoyed not just the, ritualistic side of things. I actually really, I would say, I became quite fond of the more spiritual side of things in that way. And that's the side I would try and lean into more. And so, but when I was really bad with anxiety, when at the peaks of my OCD, I was just indifferent to anything and everything in the world, even bad, sad things in the world. So I was obviously indifferent towards good things or things I used to enjoy, including religion itself. So I essentially like kind of like ran away from it, and I was quite distant from religion quite a bit, and almost like in a compulsive way. I would also then, I mean, I would fast, but I would really not say my prayers as well, almost out of this like compulsive rebellion as well, because it was like, no, but I just want to do what I want. I don't want to do something that makes me feel pressured or overwhelmed. And also, it was like, I don't want to pray if I'm not feeling that connection, because that felt like, oh, I can only pray, I should only pray only when and if I feel that strong connection, right? And so obviously that was compulsive, and this is what a lot of Muslims will do. And especially right now, if you're someone who is going through OCD, you might have POCD, you might have harm OCD, you might have HOCD, you might have moral scrupulosity, or also you might even have like, I mean, this might not fall into like a formal category or whatever, which is not really that important, but like even if it's not related to POCD or HOCD, just the general hyper awareness of your groinal responses and your private parts, I think especially at a time like this becomes really heightened, because then you're also checking that, okay, am I still pure? Am I still can I still say my prayer? Was my prayer accepted, or was it like okay for me to pray in this condition of cleanliness or purity or not? Was I even pure in the first place? Am I doubting something? Did I do something last night and which is still making me impure? um, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the barrage of intrusive thoughts while you're praying and while you're fasting. Because obviously, like, I mean, while you're fasting, it's encouraged to not display anger or not display frustration or not try to indulge in anything like bad or negative or whatever. But of course, then the intrusive thoughts will also feel like, oh, this is completely ruining my fast. And possibly, like, a lot of Muslims over here have potentially like spent quite a few Ramadans already thinking that their fasts were completely nullified somehow, or their prayers during that month were completely nullified just by virtue of having groinal responses, and for having like really bad taboo intrusive thoughts, right? Especially again, and I think the around like groinal responses and your private parts especially is where it latches to more, because of course like during the fast you're not supposed to indulge in any kind of like intimate activity or something. So then you're, even if you're not married, intimate activity, you can gather what I'm saying. But essentially like you'll be monitoring your body is for sensations and stuff like that, because you want to make sure that even your body is not behaving or reacting in a way that's going to ruin the fast in that way. So this is probably going to be quite a bit of a stressful month for people who have OCD, like the Muslim community who has OCD. And it's going to test your faith, it's going to test a lot of your compulsions. And the problem over here is that I think with religious OCD we're also going to have a webinar on March 18th. So if you're like from again, if you're from any kind of, in fact, religious background, but if you're Muslim right now in Ramadan, I think that webinar will be quite helpful for you, because we're going to go into detail about like how OCD and religious thought and cutting compulsions and working on exposures really overlaps with the recovery journey itself, with religious kind of themes. But it's going to be a bit of a tricky balance, and it's hard for me to cover in just one video because it's so kind of like vast in that sense. But one of the biggest things that you will have to try and lean into and accept is the element of uncertainty, because there's no way that you're going to, no matter how much amount of physical checking that you even may do with your, let's say, with your undergarments, or no matter how much you try to push away the thoughts during your prayers, no matter how much you read the Quran and how much you read surahs and whatnot. Of course, like there's a certain, like, you can pray to God for to help you with OCD, and that's fine in itself. But also to pray for the OCD to completely go away, or for the intrusive thoughts to go away, that will not work. And I'm sure a lot of people have already tried. A lot of you have already tried, and it's not worked. Again, I used to be there. I was it. I mean, I mean, obviously, as a kid, I thought the only way to do it is try to, I don't know, distract myself or think about something else or whatever. But of course, like that did not work. So what you have to understand is that something like this, like you can read a lot of like powerful passages from the holy book and everything as well, but that will not make OCD itself go away. Like you have to be able to balance your religious practice along with working on recovery. Like working on recovery is basically like a separate aspect of your life that you do need to incorporate. It's the same as like if you have, I don't know, if you have cancer, you can't just only pray about cancer going away. You actually have to seek out like the proper plan and treatment for it as well. So it's kind of like the same thing over here. So you do have to approach it in a separate way, and you do have to tackle it that way. But again, like I said, like this is obviously going to be, I'm just making this a short video because the the compulsions and everything with Ramadan and OCD sufferers, I mean, they're endless, and it's too vast to cover in one video. But if you have any questions, of course, like pop them in the comments below, and I can help answer them. And also, like I said, we're going to have a webinar on March 18th. We'll put up a flyer for it on our Instagram, and we'll share it over there. So, and I'll try and post it on the community page of this YouTube channel as well, because there's a separate tab where we make posts on that. So I'm going to post it over there as well. So please come, and we can have a good discussion about it, guys. I think again, I just wanted to do a brief overview. Let me know if you have questions. In fact, I can also then incorporate those questions in what I'll talk about in the webinar as well. And yeah, I hope to see you guys there. Take care. Bye.